Leemore number 2 is one of 2 engines built for the Leemore tramway in 1899, so it's 125 years old next year. It was delivered to Leemore in March 1899. Number 1 was a month earlier. The engine was built by Peckett's in Bristol. It's a standard off-the-shelf engine, but modified to run on the narrow 4-foot 6-inch gauge. Leemore number 2, along with Leemore number 1, were based at the locomotive shed in Leemore, close to Leemore village, for the China Clay Works. They only ever worked the few miles from Leemore China Clay Works along the Leemore tramway, past Whitegate's level crossing, which is still visible today, to the top of Camwood Incline. From this point, the trains were rope worked down the incline and then horse worked from the bottom of the incline to Plymouth. From the bottom of Camwood Incline, the line was horse worked from there along the parallel to the Great Western Tavistock branch, past Marsh Mills, through what is the middle of now Marsh Mills roundabout at Plymouth, along through Crabtree, past what is now Lera Diesel Depot, parallel to the embankment, past Maddox Concrete Works, now Glendinnings, and down to Lera Wharves, which was the terminus of the railway. This is where they unloaded the China clay onto ships for export or for elsewhere in this country. I'm standing on the footplate of Leemore number 2. To my left is the handbrake, to my right the regulator, and at the front of the cab we have the pressure gauge. The engine would never run at 320 pounds per square inch. It would probably be around 120 pound a square inch mark. And down here we have the firebox. The doors are manually operated, both sides, which is where the coal would have been fed in. The coal is kept in the bunker on the side of the cab inside, so it only carried a very small amount. Here I'm opening the smoke box door, which exposes the end of the boiler with all the tubes, and it also shows the exhaust system up to the chimney. Here we're looking at the motion on the locomotive. The 2 wheels are connected by the coupling rod, which is the lower of the 2. Then we have the connecting rod, which is connected to the slide bars and the piston, which enters the cylinder. The steam in the cylinder drives the piston backwards and forwards, which drives the rear wheel of the loco, and the rear wheel, then the power is transmitted through the coupling rod to the front wheel. On the top of the boiler we have the safety valve. This is when it reaches a certain steam pressure as preset. If the pressure reaches that and the pressure is still building, the safety valve releases the excess pressure so that the locomotive is safely maintained. The Leemore tramway had around 140 wagons at its peak. It was thought that all had been scrapped, but found in the undergrowth close to Camwood Incline due to a runaway at some time in the past, 1 wagon, the remains, had survived. The remains were recovered and the wagon rebuilt. The metalwork is all original, but the timber was all new in the 1960s. This is normally wagon 44, but it is actually not wagon 44 because no one actually knows what the original wagon number was. We do have wagon number plates for numbers 1 and 28, which have been passed to us as well as part of the collection. Leemore number 2 was restored at the locomotive shed at Leemore and left there in 1970. It initially spent 2 days at a traction engine rally at Chelsea Meadow in Plymouth for Mayflower 70 before moving on to be accommodated at Saltram House. We were there for nearly 30, or virtually 30 years, after which time the National Trust required the premises we were in to expand their catering facilities on the site with a new restaurant, and we were left to find a new home. The South Devon Railway very kindly offered us this site where we could locate our building and the exhibits, and we've been here ever since.